into all the important matters. And I really feel very happy at watching television and see President Obama speaking. At the same time, of course, I'm fully aware that there are, of course, still other people who still are not very happy with him, and that's quite understandable because every person have different views with regard to different things. But regardless, I do am confident that he is one of the presidents of the United States who is really trying his level best to do the best for the welfare of the American people, and I think that is the most important thing. I don't think that was the case with all the previous American presidents. So I think you're very lucky, and I would say that we're very lucky because the United States being the most powerful nation in the world, the most wealthy nation in the world, to have such a good president is a good thing for the whole world. Thank you very much.
And Ambassador Ji, my sense in China is there was a hope that Hillary Clinton would become president because the Chinese people know her husband, and they would say to me, it's like having two presidents, and there seemed to be great enthusiasm for Hillary as president. What do you think the feeling is in China now with her having been appointed as Secretary of State?
Well, you know, my dearest friend Jeannie knows everything about what my little gray cells are thinking of, and also about what, in general, our Chinese people and the leadership are thinking of. Exactly what she said is what we are also thinking about. But at least, I think, at least up to the present moment, we feel that we are happy with the present leadership. And also, we're very happy to have noted Hillary Clinton to come to a very high position, because Hillary is a lady who knows about us. Obama, no matter how good-willed he might be, I'm sure he knows nothing about China until only recently, if he had any time at all. But to have Hillary there, I think it's really for all of us Chinese, we feel very, very happy.
And speaking of presidents, I had the opportunity to be with my Chinese family, with your wife, with Shantong, and with Xiaotan and Ambassador Ji a few weekends ago, and we had the chance to look at the tapes from that famous trip of President Nixon's in 1972. He had his own private photographer, and they had 81 hours of private footage of that visit to Beijing. And Ambassador Ji was sitting by my side in my TV room, and he was saying, you see, there I am, I was interpreting for Premier Zhou Enlai, and he looked up and it was a different interpreter, but for President Nixon, which I found so fascinating. There was no American that could actually translate for the American president, and you actually served as President Nixon's interpreter in that very famous 1972 visit.
Yes.
Can you share with the audience what happened when President Nixon came off the plane and there was a picture that was taken of you by the Premier's side, and how many years you've lived with a picture that was not the real picture? How history was...
Yes. It's a very extraordinary thing. I mean, I would think that no one of you seated here could possibly imagine such an extraordinary thing happening, especially when it was a matter of the head of state of one country coming to shake hands with the head of state of another country, to have a little so-and-so play such shenanigans. It's quite extraordinary, but that's exactly what happened. Because for no other reason than two young ladies hated my guts. They hated my guts for no other reason than that I constantly argued with them against their ultra-leftist policies about launching this revolution, launching that revolution, throwing that to the pigs, throwing another person to the pigs. I was completely opposed to all this, and I kept on arguing with them. They were very angry with me, but they couldn't totally get rid of me because Premier Zhou Enlai wanted me. Otherwise, I would have been thrown to the pigs long ago. But because of that, I was able to go on. But they still wanted to have it over me, and that is to show that they are in power. So when the picture was taken of the American president shaking hands with the Chinese prime minister, they want to be sure that I was nowhere around. But the premier wanted me to be with him, so there's no way but for me to follow the premier. So what they did was to wash away me.
They airbrushed you out, right?
Airbrushed me out and airbrushed in the granddaughter of Chairman Mao. But she knew not a single word of English. So that was the picture in all the Chinese papers, but in all the foreign papers, including American figures, of course, it was me. And this then came to be known literally by the whole world, because that was a famous handshake. And Julie Nixon Eisenhower wouldn't stand by it. She was a wonderful lady. And so she sent me a picture taken by the Americans. And so that wonderful picture, the true picture of me standing behind, is now in my home, in a place of honor. And should any of you good friends would like to come, I would love to show you that picture.
Ambassador Xi, for a moment, really thank you so much for those great provocative questions. Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we're listening to a special program featuring Ambassador Xi Chaozhu, diplomat and author of The Man on Mao's Right. We'll return to our speaker in just a minute for the traditional City Club questions. We encourage you to formulate your questions now and remind you that they should be brief and to the point. We welcome you to the City Club Special Forum. Our greetings go to those present in this room, especially those who are guests. We hope you will join the City Club and become active in our ongoing civic dialogue. This Friday, June 19th, the City Club will host Dr. Ken Malin, one of the country's foremost economic forecasters, who will discuss basic economics applied to a complex world. Friday, June 26th, the City Club will welcome Congressman John Kasich, candidate for governor of Ohio. And refer to the back page of your program for more information on our upcoming speakers. And if you wish to make a reservation or order a DVD or CD of today's program, please call 1-888-223-6786 or 216-621-0082. We're also pleased today to welcome guests at a table hosted by key principal partners, Margaret W. Wong and Associates, Ulmer and Byrne, and University Schools. Thank you for joining us today. Now, it's my pleasure to have us return to our speaker for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone. Holding the microphone today is City Club Education Outreach Coordinator Deborah Agosti. And would you come back to the podium, Ambassador Xi? Oh, you sit there? We'll have you sit there. Fine.
I'm an old
You're
man.
mic'd. Okay, great. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you.
Hi. In translating for various people, one can gain an insight into their personality. Can you comment on the personality of Zhou Enlai and Mao Zedong and Henry Kissinger, if you got a chance to translate during those negotiations?
Thank you. Let me start with Chairman Mao. Chairman Mao, of course, was the founder of the New China, and it was he who lifted us up from the very backward kind of a country into modernity. But I think the greatest pity was that he then regarded himself again more or less as an emperor, even though he never called himself such. But he had absolute rule over everything. And if we were to say that he did help us to start our first steps into modernity, he almost destroyed that modernity with his own hands.